Good morning. What up, world? Welcome to episode 49 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful, warm, and comfortable confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, as always, I thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. Hopping into this episode is actually a bit of Eagles news for my Eagles flock and my brethren out there, Fly Eagles Fly. This information was just some, bits and pieces of info that I picked up over the past week or so. Things I wanted to touch on going into training camp, which starts now within 4 weeks. Fast approaching, and the July will be here before we know it. As soon as before we realize that the season will be starting. So, very exciting times. Kind of like the resting period, the dead season for the NFL, but. Some more or less some house cleaning notes. I think that the Eagles kind of just doing due diligence on, and I just wanted to more or less touch bases and inform you guys of what they're doing to be ready and be prepped for this upcoming season. As always, check us out on Apple Podcasts, check us out on Spotify, wherever podcasts are available. Hopping right into it. First, I want to start off with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has had one of the best starts. I would say one of the best starts to a career you could possibly have. I mean, when you think about it, right? Rookie season, you're kind of just like learning the ropes. You're coming in for a couple plays a game. You get in late in the season. You kind of show you can do a little something. Yeah. Second year, you put good tape on the field, on film, and you play well on the field. You wind up getting your job. You wind up becoming a starter. You get dusted in the playoff game. It happens. You learn. Third year, you make it to the Super Bowl. Have one of the best games ever by a quarterback in the Super Bowl, but you lose the game. Okay. And then there's last year, where career high in touchdowns, career high in passing yards, career high in turnovers. And he's been he's been under a lot of criticism from, people on the outside. Because I don't really see, I'll be honest with you, I talked to a ton of fellow Eagles fans. The criticism that Jalen Hurts gets is more or less from the outside. It's well documented. Nick Wright on First Things First labeled him he's saying he's a top 15 quarterback. He's not really a top 10 type guy. There's been other analysts along the internet that have said, various things about Jalen Hurts, basically stating where, he is a lot left to be desired. For whatever reason, they feel this way about Jalen. Understood. Okay. Jalen, I think, has been adhering to that. He's been taking more accountability as far as his leadership. But more importantly, what I think that he's done that is nothing new. This is something that's carried over with him since his rookie season, since pretty much the second year where he became the starter for the team. Getting guys together and working out with them and getting those reps in early. And what I'm speaking to is last week he worked out in Houston with Saquon Barkley, rookie running back Will Shipley out of Clemson, Johnny Wilson, big six receiver out of Florida State, and also new incoming receiver Paris Campbell, formerly of the Indianapolis Colts and New York Giants. I think this just speaks to his leadership, his focus and preparation going into the season, leaving no stone unturned, wanting to make sure and ensure that this team is just ultimately prepared and that there's no way that you're going to say that his play was indicative of this team failing. I think last year he showed a lot of good things. He showed some bad things too. There was definitely some regression. I think when you have a new offensive coordinator, that definitely is going to affect you. Jalen's had to deal with that a couple of times in his career. No excuses, though. He's still got to step up and provide and play at the top level that he's being paid at and that he's shown. But be that as it may, this is a huge step in the right direction. You already have chemistry with Smitty and AJ. You need to get these other guys in there. And the fact that Johnny Wilson is there, that to me speaks volumes. Saquon has been with Jalen Hurts all offseason. We've seen photos. You guys have seen it on Instagram. You've seen it on Snapchat. You guys have seen it on various places. They've been together the whole offseason. Will Shipley, I think is interesting. I think that's dope that he's there because I'm not sure how many touches he's possibly going to get, but he's going to obviously play a role in the rotation. But Johnny Wilson being there. Rookie wide receiver, a guy that they're saying might not make the team, but the fact that he's getting reps right now and bigger body receiver, a little bit slender, possibly somebody that can use along those intermediate routes, as I've been well documented, reported here on the show about Johnny Wilson. I just think this is huge. I just think Jalen doesn't get enough credit for this. People are quick to talk about how last year was a down year, but the year before was a great year. It's always going to be criticism. When you're a good player or a great player, this comes with the territory. It's part of the package. So no one's going to cry a river for Jalen, especially making $51 million a year. However, this is huge. As an Eagles fan, I'm definitely happy to see this, and this just shows me and leads me to believe that he's going to put this team and himself in the right direction and the right mindset to be successful and possibly contend for a championship this year. Because again, at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to. If it's not about a title, then what the fuck we talk about? Hopping next right into it would be one of the protectors for Jalen Hurts would be Lane Johnson, his right tackle. Lane Johnson recently sat down and did an interview on NFL Network. He spoke with, I believe it was Mike Garafolo? Yeah, it was Mike Garafolo. Spoke with Mike Garafolo about the team and plans for this year and things that he thinks just pretty much just touching bases with Lane Johnson and just getting his mindset about what he thinks about the team. And he spoke a lot. He spoke on several things. He spoke on the team, spoke on leadership, the team turnover from last season, and what this team is doing to combat the issues from last year. You'll see the quotes right here shortly. Nonetheless, though, he's basically just letting it be known that this team's not going to slack off and have the same issue that they had last year. There's new blood in there, which I think was needed. There's new energy, which was definitely needed. And the message is still the same. We didn't win the championship 2 years ago. We didn't win the championship last year. So the message is still the same. Win the damn Super Bowl. Nothing's changed. So the fact that AJ's in great shape, Lane Johnson's in great shape, the line is in great shape. Because I think the key thing that a lot of people are forgetting about this team is if this offensive line is healthy or unhealthy, that's going to dictate a lot. Because if Jalen is good, Jalen's learning the new offense. He's been with Doug Nussmeier, as I've documented. Kellen Moore has been spoke on how Jalen's been picking up the offense and incorporating it. So all great glowing things there. But make no mistake about it. The offensive line is going to dictate how far this team can go. If that offensive line is healthy, this team is going to destroy teams. If this offensive line is unhealthy, then this team is screwed. And they may win 11 games or fewer and possibly get knocked out of the first round again. So to see Lane Johnson speak on that, I think it's great. I think it's great to see that he's in the right mindset and shape too. This is all needed for this team to be able to compete and to be able to do what they need to do to put themselves in position to elevate themselves and win the championship. And again, I'm just ecstatic. I'm just more or less happy that this team is not resting on their laurels and sitting back and being like, we're all right. We're still good. There's nothing for us to worry about. No, there's definitely something to worry about. We haven't accomplished anything. We haven't reached the goal yet. So it's great to see this. It really is. Hopping right next into it was Dallas Goedert, which I think this was also important too, because I think he's a guy that kind of gets missed in all of this. Dallas Goedert is one. He's put up good numbers, been a good tight end, definitely becoming a household name. But for some reason, it just seems like for times within the season, there's lulls where he disappears. And it's not because of his inactivity. It's just he's not getting the ball for whatever reason. Not sure why, not sure what happens, but nonetheless, it happens. But good news, and hopefully with Kellen Moore, there's hope along the way. Kellen Moore said, and pretty much Dallas Goedert, said that Kellen Moore's offense is exciting, is tight and friendly, and that he should receive more touches within his offense. The quotes will be here shortly. Looking for quick and unlimited access to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast? Well, look no further than on Apple Podcasts. Listen to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast on Apple Podcasts. QR code is available for quick access to the channel. Also, check us out on Spotify as well. Thanks. Have a great day. And he actually sat down and he gave an extensive interview with Philly Acquirers Jeff Nyberg. So I definitely had a link in there for you guys to read that. It was a very good interview. We talked a lot about, what Kellen's plans are for him and the excitement. Like I said, him being the offense being tight end friendly, which I think is an element that's missing in this offense because let's be honest, right? One of the major things that we all been talking about is the third wide receiver being missing in the offense. And I agree, the third wide receiver is missing in the offense. But let's be honest, the third wide receiver is Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert just needs to get some more touches. The real is there's times that they just abandon getting him the ball. And I understand there's certain coverages, there's certain things. Sometimes blitz pickup. You may have injuries along the line where you can't get the guy the ball, whatever. Sometimes you overthrow him, a read's not there. Dallas Goedert is one of the premier tight ends in the league. You got to get this guy touches. He is the third receiver. And it clicked in my head like, I hope, don't get me wrong, I really hope that Paris Campbell comes along and that he does what he needs to develop and become that third wide receiver that we need. However, if Dallas Goedert is getting a couple more touches along the game, especially in key spots, I think that really helps elevate the offense too. So it's very interesting to see. I'm excited. And the fact that he said tight end friendly, we know Kellen Moore, we know the history, and you guys has been well documented what he did in Dallas last year in Los Angeles with the Chargers. He gives the ball to the tight ends. So, it's going to be very interesting to see what Dallas Goedert's numbers is going to look like this year. Definitely a fantasy pickup if he wasn't already on your fantasy team going into the season. Definitely somebody you might be placing some nice wagers on parlay bets throughout the year. One of the other things I definitely wanted to touch on too was, again, we spoke on the offensive line, but more importantly, the depth signings that they've made. Will there be enough to keep the team afloat? Which, again, is very interesting. It's something that we're obviously going to have to wait to see how it plays out. I think, my personal opinion, yes. I think Mekhi Becton's one of those guys that just needed a breath of fresh air. He was in a bad organization, bad team. I don't want to say he had a bad coach. I don't want to say he had a bad offensive line coach because I don't know off the top of my head who the offensive line coach is in New York for the Jets. However, he showed a lot of promise. He dealt with injuries. That's really what has been his issue. Being a backup here in Philadelphia and being behind this offensive line and being with that coaching staff, he's going to be a better player, and I expect big things from him. Max Sharping as well, guy that's came in spot duty and has shown that he could play. I expect big things out of him. I expect this line to pick up not right where they left off, but I expect some growing pains. I do expect it to be a little bit of that's a little ugly. It's gonna be a little rough. But nonetheless, I'm telling you, I do expect this offensive line, the depth of the line, to be better than what they've had in recent years. They still have Big Fred Johnson. Like I said, there's a lot of guys that they have along this line that's going to keep this team afloat. Because, again, injuries are part of the game. And knock on wood, any guys get injured, but we all fucking know this is the NFL. Unfortunately, guys, some guys only play 12 games. Some guys only play 2 games. Some guys play no games, so let's just, keep our fingers crossed, leave that to God that the guys can, make it through most of the season healthy. But it's a huge test for this team this year, like I said, because if this offensive line stays healthy, I really feel like this team will be dangerous and be right there in the Super Bowl conversation. And last 2 things I wanted to touch on before I wrap up this episode about the Eagles news and notes. A.J. Brown made some comments I thought was definitely dope. I wanted to get into. A.J. Brown stated that Isaiah Rodgers is, quote, he's going to do special stuff for us this year. I'm excited about what I've been hearing about him. I'm excited about what I've been reading. Some of the camp video that I saw, he made, he's looked good. This is the guy that we kind of needed last year that was missing, where I felt like had he been there, maybe some of those flaws that showed up late in the year don't show up, because Isaiah Rodgers is a decent young corner. He can cover up some of those flaws with the way he plays. He could take on, a team's, second, third receiver and really, play well. So again, it's interesting that he's playing up against, the likes of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And, he's giving these guys hell in practice. They're making their plays, but he's giving them hell. He's made some interceptions. He's made some deflections. This is going to be key for this team. It's no secret that they overhauled the whole damn defensive backfield. They're letting you know, we're going to be playing coverage, and if you can't play in space and you can't play coverage, you're not going to play here. So I'm excited, and I'm excited that A.J. Brown made sure he shouted him out. Again, one of the leaders on the team, making sure guys are getting that notice. Guys are going into the offseason. It's something I want to jack from Robert Saleh, the Jets head coach, a line that he said pretty much throughout this whole offseason. This part of the offseason is the me season. Take care of your body, take care of your mental health, take care of your emotional health. Make sure you're staying up on your regimen. Make sure you're staying up on your diet. these are the things that's going to help this team elevate and be in position to be championship contenders or possible champions at the end of the year. So it's just great to see, and great to see that A.J. Brown shouting out Isaiah Rodgers. And I'm expecting big things from Isaiah Rodgers this year, because if he plays well, this team will be, again, good to go. One last thing I wanted to touch on, again, it's 4 weeks leading into training camp. I'm very excited about this. Training camp for me typically usually starts around my birthday. My birthday is July 28th. So typically it usually starts like 27th or 26th. This year, though, however, I have updated news officially from the Eagles website. The players must report to camp by July 23rd of this year. First open practice, though, for the public will be available on August 1st at the link. Tickets are starting out at $10. VIP tickets are at $35. So definitely check that out, people. It's gonna be interesting. It's funny. Most of my life, guys, full disclosure, I've never been to an Eagles game. I've watched the Eagles all my life, never been to a game. So I'm gonna definitely try to make sure I take advantage of that shit this year at some point. Got to be within the nest, got to be at the link. And and I also, just to give you a further update, because this will, again, this is a dead season, so it's not going to be a ton of Eagles videos coming out pretty much until the start of training camp. But I will be reporting on Eagles training camp as well as other teams throughout the off season, throughout the summer leading into the season. So keep checking out for updates. I'll have some of these videos may be quicker on the other teams compared to the Eagles. No disrespect, but just trying to get in as much content as possible. Starting this new job, schedule may be a little bit hectic, but it'll be episodes coming, if not every other day, every couple of days, but stay tuned. Hey, what's up? I know it sucks, the video just ended, but listen, you can catch this whole interview on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Links are in the description. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you. Have a great day.